Hey everybody, this is Perch. I want to talk about a manga anime series. For some of you, it's like immediate turnoff. But I want to use it as an illustration of trying something new and out of the box. And I wouldn't call it slice of life because it's definitely not that. But there's a lesson there for Marvel, DC, for kind of Western comic companies of how to roll something out. And to be entirely fair about this is not a video, by the way, of Japan's doing everything right and the U.S. sucks. It's not. I'm not. That's not my commentary here. My commentary is that what we've heard from U.S. comic companies is that they need to try new things, and they do in terms of the content and appealing to different audiences, trying to pull new people in. And you've heard me talk as well about no matter what's between the covers of a comic, you've got to solve the distribution problem. You've got to get comics to a place where new readers can actually discover them, because is a complete fantasy that you're going to have people out of the blue just get in their car and decide to drive to a local comic shop and wander in there and be like, I've decided to get comics today. That's not going to occur. So that's why, the importance, the biggest reason, and I know it goes against the anti-woke kind of narrative that's been going on the internet these days, is the reason why manga has been so successful, particularly over the last several years, is it's located in places people are going. It's like you can go into a grocery store and find manga. You can go into Walmart and Target and find manga. It's everywhere. And because it's everywhere there, Amazon and online retailers started pushing it more because that's how they compete. And so, you go to Amazon and you're going to get promoted for manga above being promoted for, Watchmen or The Dark Knight Returns or several classic comics that are there that in theory could be a gateway into comics. And so that is the core problem. Now, there's this chicken and the egg argument of like, well, but the only reason that it gets popular is because, the content is good. Sure. A lot of manga stories are good. That distribution problem is kind of the core problem. But beyond that, getting beyond that, in order to get shelf space, in order to get kind of more distribution, more places, you have to tell different kinds of stories. So one of the stories that what are these stories? And I think the belief is, well, the superhero genre is kind of played out, and there's fatigue, and if you're going to get a new reader, they're going to want to dive into something new. They're not going to want to dive into Spider-Man or Batman. They're going to want to have their own thing to grow up with. And I'm not sure that any of that's true, by the way. I mean, it's Spider-Man and Superman and Batman and these characters have survived for multiple generations now. And somehow the previous generations are able to find themselves in it without starting over into a number one. It still remains, and again, distribution being a big factor, a funny factor that you had a lot of what I would call the second generation or the next generation of comic consumers come in the 80s and the 90s. There was the policy of rebooting with a brand new number one was non-existent back then. It was heresy to do that. So you had a complete generation of customers come into comics that did not come in with number ones. That's a video for another time, but just kind of putting that out there. But let's get back to kind of this, so you want to create a new story. So, my daughter started watching this show, and she often she'll push stuff at us that is, I don't know. This is where I start to feel old, and I hate the feeling. It's the first time. But she'll show. For example, my older daughter was into Sniper Wolf on YouTube for a period of time, and I'm watching that show, and I'm like, I have no fucking idea why anybody watches this other than to fantasize about the person involved. But what is even going on here? I was going to say that's not a knock against it, but I guess it is because anyway, I find that content unwatchable. But it's not content for me. They would say the same. No, they're not trying to appeal to a older dude who's I'm not their target demo. But she promotes this show Mashle and Muscle or Mashle is it a Mashle Mashle and the subtitle is Magic and Muscle. So started with the anime. I've read some of the books. And basically, again, at surface value, this did not look like something I'd be interested in. You look at the poster and it's got what looks like, a fairly generic looking anime characters in magic costumes. And the animation looks, let's say on the lower end of animation, or at least, there's different, all manga and anime do not look alike, right? And this is a definite distinctive style. So we start watching this show, and full disclosure, again, this is not a review of that series because I think I'm 8 episodes in of it on the anime, and I'm a little farther on the manga. So I wouldn't pretend to be educated enough to to give a proper review, but I am, I get the bit at this point. If you watch like 3 episodes, you understand the bit that they're going for here, and it's an incredibly simple premise. Like the thing that I think is the huge lesson for U.S. comics is you do not need to overthink your plot, your summary, your story. You just need to have one good core idea, and then you need to execute it, hopefully well. And this series is executed well. It is dumb, but I say it in a very kind, good way. The premise of the show, and I recommend some of you check it out. With a lot of stuff, it's important to look at new things and try it. You don't have to give a One Piece like time investment into the entire series, but give it a half an hour and watch the first or second episode. First episode's a lot of setup. The second episode is where it really, the whole gimmick really plays out. So, in a nutshell, you've got a kind of similar. It's very Harry Potter-esque. You've got a population of magic users, and they go to a magic school, and you have a boy who has no magic power. He is also what's the correct YouTube word? He is special. He is he's not the brightest. He has some mental challenges. How many different ways can I we'll talk around the R word? I don't know why I'm saying it that way. I say retarded all the time. Anyway, he's not bright. He has an obsession with cream puffs because that's kind of his happy food, and he's just dumb. Through a variety of kind of shenanigans, they enroll him in the magic school because they're trying to infiltrate. Yeah, there's this subplot that honestly doesn't matter at all. That's just the very flimsy premise to get him into the school. What proceeds then is a bunch of magic bullshittery, and then the character Mash, who basically just punches his way through all the obstacles. So the other kids are using magic, he punches them in the face. That's what he does, and that is the entire plot. Villains and other people are trying to do a variety of kind of shenanigans around him. He's too stupid to understand that that's going on, but he's also tough. So he just, the gimmicks again are really simple. They put him in a maze, like, okay, let's see if you can get to the end of this maze. He proceeds to just, punch his way through the walls to the other end. There are some similarities. I was showing it to a friend. He's like, this seems a little bit like One Punch Man. The animation style, yes. The plot, no. It's more stupid and charming than that. It literally is. How many ways can we screw with? If you are tired of Harry Potter and frustrated with that kind of whole, the hype around magic and all that kind of bullshit, then this series you will enjoy, because it's again basically just a kid who is mentally handicapped punching his way through stuff. It's funny. So that's what you've got there. But what's interesting about this is, as I said, this is a simple idea. This entire series is not meant for, it's not a high concept series. It's not meant for a bunch of intelligence. It's not, this isn't going to win Eisners for plot. It is basically, by the way, as I'm talking to you right now, I'm distracted because of a 4-way stop sign. There's a semi truck that is trying to make a right turn. It is incapable of doing it because it's too big. It just ripped the stop sign out of the ground because it drug into it. And now it has gone into the ditch because it can't make the turn. And somehow This is the most Texas thing I've seen all day. It is 6:30 in the morning, so the day's off to a great start. That completely derailed my thoughts. Anyway, for U.S. comics, there's this idea of like, how do we appeal to a new audience? How do we get kind of these new concepts going? And the idea often becomes, okay, we want to appeal to a new audience, so let's take Spider-Man, an existing character of 60 plus years, and let's give him a new status quo that will appeal to kind of new audiences. Or let's take Spider-Man, the Spider-Man universe, but we'll create Miles Morales, and because Miles is black, all the black all black people will also buy Miles, which is whenever I hear that pitch, I'm like, that is one of the most racist things I've ever heard. Anyway, I don't know why anybody thinks that's okay. By the way, in the comic companies, like, well, we want to appeal to a gay audience, so let's hire a gay writer and make the character gay. It's like, ooh, that's that's remarkably homophobic if you think about it. But okay, whatever, you do you. Anyway, so but they're on the wrong track. As soon as they go down that path, they've failed, because you're basically taking something that is already cooked. You're taking something that's already baked in premise, and you're trying to warp it to be new, which the new audience still recognizes Spider-Man or Spider-Man. You're not changing anything. You haven't attracted anything. You also isolate and alienate your existing audience, who doesn't understand why the hell you're doing this with their characters. But that doesn't mean you don't do it. That doesn't mean you can't appeal to new readers or new audiences. It means you have to. It means you just basically have to you have to invent something new, and inventing something new does not have to be a thoughtful, massive activity filled with complexity. It can be as simple as, hey, here's a really funny, simple concept. We're gonna take magic, and we're gonna have somebody just punch their way through it. The end. And you roll that out, and you wind up getting a new audience, and you wind up bringing something novel and creative and fun. Now, I want to acknowledge here that a lot of comic readers do struggle to adopt new things, because there are indie comics that do try new ideas like this. But more often than not, again, you still have that same distribution problem. They're still being sold in the same place that new readers don't go to. But also, there's an insecurity that comes out of comic publishers and comic creators, that they want to tie it back somehow to this other comic universe. But it's a mistake. It's you need the idea to just be what it is. And in this case, let it be, a retarded kid who is punching his way through school. It's that it can be as simple as that. And I think if, outside of distribution, if there's one area that kind of the U.S. comic industry and everything else can learn from manga, is have more faith in your simple, small ideas, and run with them, and get them in front of people who are, not going to comic stores, and try your best. Because, to summarize this whole thing, and it's not a competition like this, but, some of you will take it this way. This show about the idiot boy who punches his way through a magic school, is doing far better ratings than Marvel's What If on Disney Plus, and the manga, it looks to be selling. When I kind of peeked at the numbers, it looks to be selling better than any current comic that's out, including the Absolute line, including the the Ultimate line. The copies that got sold, again, it's not apples to apples. You have a floppy comic versus a tankobon, etc. Price point's close to the same, but when you look at the book scan numbers, it's doing better. And so you have to look at that and say, all right, we spent all this time figuring out kind of how we want to expand our universe, and how we want to have the Ultimate Spider-Man and Absolute Batman and everything else, and you're getting outsold by the premise of a kid who's stupid and punches stuff. That's beating you. So Anyway, I don't overthink it. Simple as that. Thanks for listening.